All right, we've been talking Shanahan, Purdy, all of it. Leroy in Oakland. Hey, Leroy, what you doing?
Hey, I just took a little walk around the block. I'm at work, but I got a little break, so I just wanted to chime in real quick. Hey, you guys, I will be there Wednesday, and I hope y'all able to pick me up and give me some spirit about the Warrior season because, I got us probably at 5th or 6th seed, and then I got us, being ran out the playoffs. So hopefully y'all can change my mind and give me some good spirit about my Warriors because I ain't feeling too well. But let me change the subject to Shanahan.
Okay.
I love the 49ers. I've been a 49er all my life, and Shanahan's not easy to like, but he's not easy to hate. I always tell my wife, Shanahan has 9 lives, man. He does one thing good, then he does one thing bad, one thing good. You don't like him, then this Purdy thing comes along, and you love him. So I'm the 49er fan where I'm enjoying this season, but I'm already at the NFC Championship game because I think we have to get over that hump. And I thought we were going to be good enough this season to get back there. So, yes, I'm enjoying these games and I'm enjoying the season, but this is what I expected from the 49ers. So, putting me in the NFC Championship game.
Well,
Everybody's saying,
yeah, that's fair. But, Leroy, can we ask you a question? When you say he's not easy to like, can you put words to that? Why? I wasn't a big fan of them bringing in Garoppolo. I wasn't a big fan of them drafting, Trey Lance. I wasn't a big fan of them getting rid of Mostert. But, again, for every one of those you can say, then you can say, hey, look at Purdy and look at, who he's brought in, the free agents on defense. So that's why I said, man, I'm just right in the middle with Shanahan. And I want to say this. I'm in the NFC Championship game, and I think we're going to play the Eagles, and I think that game is going to come down to special teams play. And real quick, I was looking at a thing they did the past 30 years, the best special teams, the past 30 years. The 49ers was 22nd with that 2011 team. So I'm hoping we kind of, get back to that on special teams because I do believe that NFC Championship game against the Eagles coming up, hopefully, is going to come down to special teams. Now, one last thing. I know you got to go. If you look at special teams right now, who's the best special teams in the league? Top 4? You got the Eagles sitting at 3rd. We're sitting at 4th. So hopefully we can get over this NFC Championship hump. God bless you guys. Leroy, thanks. Special teams rankings is that's a pretty intricate conversation. All I know when I think about special teams is it's just like an offensive lineman or anything like that. If I don't notice it, then we're doing fine. And the 49ers special teams have not made me notice them this year. They're not giving
too
up
much.
Yeah, they're not giving up
much.
punt return touchdowns. They haven't missed a kick.
Jake Moody, a couple of kicks out of bounds.
That's true. But that doesn't. Okay.
Ray has had a couple of nice returns of 15 yards on punts.
Don't fumble, Ray. That's all.
Yeah.
Every time the ball's near, don't fumble, Ray.
Yeah.
Don't you fumble. And then he doesn't. So.
And the kickoff return has mostly been eradicated by the league. You get the occasional short kick, but 3 out of every 4 now are automatic touchbacks. So special teams aren't nearly as special as they used to be. But yeah, the kicker. You spent high draft capital on the guy, and he has not missed. So there you go, Jake. Keep it up, buddy.
Yep, absolutely. By the way, speaking of the Eagles, and obviously way ahead of ourselves to already be talking about the NFC title game between these two teams, but I did think it was interesting with Steiny and E-Dog was in for Goo today, and they talked to Ross Tucker. Listen to what he said about the Eagles and the Niners.
As good as the Niners are playing right now, the Eagles still have the better offensive line. And they still have the better defensive line when you look at everybody involved and the second string and all of that. And so that's why even if the Eagles aren't like clicking on all cylinders with the skill guys, they start every game they play on third base because they have the better O-line and D-line in every game they play. And even though the Niners are very good at both and probably closer on D-line, they're still not as good as the Eagles up front on both sides of the ball. Now, they got better linebackers. They probably have better offensive skill. We can get into all that, but the Eagles still have the best O-line and D-line in, I think, every game they play, which is, think about that for high school football or college football. You start every game with the better O-line and D-line. That's a really good place to be.
Okay, interesting. I did already pull up
Oh, gosh, it's going to trigger everyone. PFF.
Oh, God.
Defensive line rankings.
We're talking about December 3rd now.
Well, we're talking about the Eagles and the 49ers.
Yeah,
the two 5-0 teams. There's only two left.
PFF rankings.
Well,
because to me, that is the gold standard because they got Brock Purdy at 78.
Yeah.
They have him as the 16th ranked quarterback.
Yeah, no, I only pull it up just because when Ross said that, it perked my ears up because I was like, I get that the Eagles have the best offensive line in the game, but better defensive line than the 49ers, especially when they took one of the Eagles' top defensive linemen. I know Carter. I know he looks like a very exciting young player. I get it. But I was like, you're going to really rank them above the 49ers? Where do you think PFF has these two defensive lines? Just defensive lines.
Oh, boy. Just defensive lines. They probably have the Eagles in the top 3, the Niners also in the top 3.
Eagles 1, Niners 2.
Yeah, probably the Browns are number 3.
Washington Commanders.
Okay, there you go.
PFF. Cleveland Browns, number 6.
Okay.
Number 6, yeah. So, look, they're both really good, although, you go into a game like last weekend, and I do think it helps with this. Whatever worry you have about those spots for the 49ers, again, it's not like the Niners are wanting for anything. For Ross to sort of set apart the Eagles and Niners defensive line, I don't know that makes a whole lot of sense. I'm not going to tell you that the Niners are better than the Eagles. I'm going to tell you they're at least right there. It's a tremendous strength for both teams. So to definitively say that the Eagles line, they've got the better defensive line, I don't know about that. They're very good, and so are the Niners. So they're going to be doing exactly what you need to be as a defensive line on both sides of the ball. Shocker, that's why they're the two best teams.
Yeah, and could it be that a guy who is from, and I'd have to Google it, oh no, wait, I don't have to, Philadelphia, the Philadelphia area, could maybe be exerting some personal bias? And I know that he grew up about 2 or 3 miles from where Steiny grew up in Reading, PA, or thereabouts in Reading, PA. Could it be a guy who grew up in Pennsylvania is showcasing a little bit of regional bias? I believe it could be.
Who knows? Could be. Look, the Eagles are great. I'm going to stick by my prediction, though. They're going to have at least 2 losses when the Niners get there. Mark it down.
Well, if they do and the Niners don't have any loss when those two teams meet, then that takes a little bit of the punch out of the game being a tiebreaker because, you think about that game being a tiebreaker when it comes to being the number 1 overall seed, which we all kind of agree is a big deal for the Niners to have that possible NFC Championship game at home.
I mean, in the theory you're throwing out there, let's say the Eagles are 9-2 and the 49ers are 11-0. Sure, they could lose the game and stay ahead. Still huge, though, because then you've lost your tiebreaker. Yep. Only a 1-game lead. Long way to go. We're ahead of ourselves in the conversation. For me, it's much more about who the Eagles start playing right now. Line rankings right now are messed up. They just are. And in fact, I think in a little bit, Grandy, did you get the Rob Gronkowski thing that I sent you? Throw that up there when, it's already here. Check it out. The Dallas Cowboys are the top ranked defense in the league. No, they're not. They just played 3 crap teams. Gronk?
I'm on Debo's side. They definitely don't want to see the San Francisco 49ers again. I don't know what they're thinking. If they want to figure out a way, if they make it to the playoffs, how somehow the 49ers lose and they don't got to face them, they don't want to see them again. The Dallas Cowboys aren't for real. They kind of tricked us this year, and I'll tell you why they tricked us. Because they had 3 blown out wins already. But you got to look back at it now. Now you see when they played a good team, the San Francisco 49ers. Then you go back, their defense dominated 3 teams that have absolutely no offense right now. The New York Giants, the New York Jets, and the New England Patriots. They absolutely dominated. But guess what? That's why they tricked us, because those teams don't even have offense. The Cowboys stride versus them, and then they play good teams that get absolutely blown out. And San Francisco, they're for real. They're not tricking us. They are the best team in the NFL, and they struck gold with an $800,000 quarterback as well.
There you go. Tell him, Gronk. That's on Up and Adams. Sort of a response to the whole Micah Parsons, Deebo Samuel thing. But he's absolutely right. And I think there's a smaller version of that with the Philadelphia Eagles. Their schedule has not been as weak as what the Dallas Cowboys was, but I don't think that the Eagles have had a game yet where I'm like, oh, damn. Okay, you took on an absolute heater, and you showed out. They haven't done that yet. Their games have been very close. Their schedule's not been very good. And over the next 8 weeks, no one will have it tougher than the Philadelphia Eagles.
No doubt.
Their schedule is crazy.
A couple of Dallases, a Buffalo, and a Kansas City, and I think a Miami in there as well.
And a San Francisco.
Which is a gauntlet unlike any other, and that's what you get when you get that first-place schedule. And the Niners have faced a little bit of that first-place schedule, but it hasn't been nearly as daunting in terms of the stack. And I think about this game down the road against Philadelphia in a number of different ways. Obviously, the rematch of last year's NFC Championship, but also it is a quest for home field advantage. There have been 23 NFC Championship games this century, and the home team is 15-8 in those games. And in the 3 that the Niners have played, they are 2-0 at home and 0-1 on the road. And so in terms of like how important this is for the Niners more than other teams, I think it's very important for them.
The Eagles, if you look at this, even their weeks off from the schedule that we just talked about, even their weeks off look hard to me. Like, look at this week at the New York Jets. That's sneaky. That's not easy. Their defense is very good. You're on the road. A couple weeks from now, they're at Washington. They struggle with Washington. They lost to them last year. Washington took them to overtime a couple of weeks ago in Philly. That's not a week off. But outside of that, the next 8, Miami, home to Dallas, at Kansas City, home to Buffalo, home to the 49ers, at Dallas, at Seattle. That's what's going on for them between now and Christmas. And it's just an absolute, like, I can't remember a run of games looking like that for any NFL team in recent memories. It's almost all the good teams.
Right.
All of them.
And every team that you mentioned, I think, has a winning record. And I know Dallas is sitting at 3-2, but Miami and Buffalo and Kansas City and the Niners are all not only teams with winning records, but teams with great records and teams that are expected to be there deep into the postseason. So in terms of opponent record over the next 6 or 7 games, that's got to be among the toughest ever at this point in the season.
No doubt. The Jets and Commanders are both 2-3, and outside of that, it's 4-1 Miami, it's 3-2 Dallas, 4-1 Kansas City, 3-2 Buffalo, 5-0 San Francisco. Again, Dallas, they play again. Seattle, winning record, same thing. Okay, let's go to Robin in the city. Robin, you're on with Willard and Dibs.
Hi, you guys. How you doing? Thank you for taking my call. I was triggered. I say that because you guys always make fun of that word, triggered.
Yep.
Why do people get triggered? Because Leroy, I love you. I love Leroy. But I kind of disagree, you guys, with him about special teams making a difference. First of all, I want to say I agree about we're so way ahead of ourselves December 3rd because a lot of football needs to be played, and you just got to pray that they stay healthy or that they're in a position that in case an injury does come up, that they're in a position to still, get that first seed because that is their goal. You got our fan base talking about, they can go undefeated. No. That's not the goal. The goal is to start off good so that they're in a good place. In case they face injuries, they can still, you know what I mean? Still get it. It's called balance. It's what do you guys call it? It's not a marathon, but a sprint.
A sprint, yeah, it's a sprint.
Say. But, yeah. So here's what I'm going to say, though. I think it's not special teams when it comes to the Eagles. It's the trenches. the Eagles always win in the trenches, and they always kick the Niners' butt in the trenches, okay? And so, yeah, we didn't have a quarterback, but they're bigger than the Niners, and it just comes down to who can win in the trenches, and I think that the difference is going to be Kyle Shanahan and what he can draw up and what he can do, and our defensive coordinator, because I'm just kind of doubtful we can beat them in the trenches, and just want to hear you guys' opinion. Thanks a lot. And
yeah, Robin,
Thanks, Robin.
Before you go, are you turning right, left, or do you have your hazards on?
She's going left. Yeah. She's going left.
She's gone. Everybody wanted to know. Everyone wanted to know. They're like, man, this is the longest turn of all time. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock.
Yeah, usually a long tick-tock, you're going left, you're waiting for that light. If you're going right, you can go right on red usually, and you get through it.
Or she pulled over and put the hazards on because she wanted to call Willie and Dibby.
Possible, but Robin strikes me as the kind of caller who wouldn't pull over. She would just,
Man,
I'm going to keep it rolling, honey.
I hope no one was behind her. That took a while. She still hadn't made that turn.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You'd be stuck at that left-hand turn.
You know what's funny? You hear her say, gosh, they always beat us in the trenches. Is there an always? The Eagles and 49ers don't really have a thing yet. It's been 1 year.
Right.
They played one time, and the 49ers lost their QB, and the Eagles D-line gets credit for that. They're very, very good. I just think this rivalry, if you will, it's going to be a few years, but it's budding. I don't know that we've got a trend yet out of this, and that's why I sort of clap back at the idea that the Eagles are clearly better on both lines. They're very good, and I do think that they have the best offensive line in football. But I'm only going to point that out in a matchup if it's a weakness on the other side, and the Niner defensive line is at minimum right there. They're right there with what the Eagles do. And their offensive line, all I can say about them is they have not been a problem yet. Like, I know that was everyone's big concern going into this year. They have not been a problem yet.
What about the rivalry behind the rivalry? And in this case, Jim Schwartz versus Kyle Shanahan.
Now,
and I know you've got some numbers on that where Schwartz has had Shanny's number going 8-1 against Kyle Shanahan coach teams.
First of all, may the Schwartz not be with you this weekend, because
coordinator
9 times these two have faced off, and what we mean by that, it could be during Kyle's OC days as well.
Yeah.
But when Kyle's the play caller and Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator, they've faced off 9 times. Kyle is 1-8, and only once has his team scored more than 20 points. That's a crazy stat. However, I would need to go deeper to know, is this in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Like, is this when Johnny Manziel is your quarterback? Because that's a little different.
A little bit unfair. And he's got Brock going up against Cleveland. And I didn't mean to jump ahead to the Cleveland rivalry, but you were talking about rivalries and trends. And I agree with you about Philadelphia. Like, one game cannot create a trend. One play when Hassan Reddick rips the arm off of Brock Purdy, that doesn't mean that their D-line is automatically better than an offensive line, especially when that offensive line actually wasn't the part that gave way. It was the second tight end who missed the block.
Yeah, I just look also at, the Eagles defense. It's good, don't get me wrong, but we are watching solid. If you have a solid offense, like in spots, people have been able to have some success against the Eagles defensively so far this year. Minnesota went up and down the field. Okay, Kirk Cousins threw for over 4 bills. Sam Howell in Washington had a ton of success. Tampa, not so much. Matt Stafford, not too much. Mac Jones put together a comeback and scored 20 points, which for him this year sounds like a truckload. So I don't know. If you just look at scoring defense, the 49ers have been better than the Eagles so far this year, and I think they've also faced collectively better offenses than the Eagles have.
Collectively, yeah, I think so. And if you look at the real defensive stats, which is, yards per play, because a lot of times points per game can be skewed based on, short field or, special teams, turnovers and whatnot. But defensively, as far as yards per play go, the Niners have been near the top of the rankings. They're third. Philadelphia's down at number 10, and it's about a half a yard per play differential.